are watching Canadian Muslim news on Muslim Network TV from Toronto, Ontario. I'm Catherine Bullock. Assalamu alaikum and greetings of peace. What's it like to job hunt after graduation? We will find out when we talk later in the show with Amanda Hasan. But first, some news headlines. Fake search warrants issued for Muslim charity. Indigenous leaders say help needed to search for remains. Stuck in Pakistan, Afghan families wait for visas. Historic firsts implemented in 2022 FIFA World Cup. And now the details. An investigation by a media source reveals that the Muslim Association of Canada has been receiving fake documents from an anonymous sender suggesting that the RCMP and Canada Revenue Agency are building a terrorist funding case against the charity. The investigation found that the documents, including printouts, internal government emails, fake search warrants, and money transfers, were all forged. The Muslim Association of Canada is the country's largest Muslim organization with institutions in 13 cities. The organization had been receiving forged documents for more than a year, supposedly from the RCMP and the CRA. The RCMP says it is looking at the documents. First Nations leaders are forming a committee to see if it is feasible to search for the remains of 2 Indigenous homicide victims at Prairie Green landfill in North Winnipeg. The feds have offered support. Winnipeg police have previously declined to search for the remains of the women who were killed this past spring by an alleged serial killer because they think they will not be able to find them. After a recent meeting with Winnipeg police and the city's mayor, the Indigenous leaders say they are committed to doing the work. They say they need police assistance to find the women's remains. Afghans who once worked for the Canadian government in Afghanistan are awaiting their visa approvals in several hotels in Pakistan's capital. Some of these Afghans have been living with their families in single rooms for more than a year. Despite having completed their applications, they are yet to hear about their resettlement in Canada. A man who worked as an interpreter for the Canadian military lives in one of these hotels. His children run in the hallways of the hotel holding Canadian flags. There is no school nor playground for these children. The families are depressed, wondering when they can leave. The 2022 FIFA World Cup, which will conclude on Sunday, has many historic firsts. This year's event is the first World Cup to be held in an Arab nation. The event had to be held in a different season due to the extreme temperatures in Qatar in the summer. For this tournament, FIFA increased the team squad from 23 to 26. The balls used came with new technology, including a microchip and sensors. For the first time, female referees officiated the games. African team underdogs Morocco made history by making it to the semi-finals. They will take on Croatia on Saturday for the bronze medal. And that's it for the news. What is it like to graduate from university and start looking for a job in an economy reeling from the COVID impact? We'll find out. We will talk to one young Muslim woman, Amanda Hasan, who just graduated from the University of Toronto with a Bachelor of Arts degree. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us and congratulations on getting your degree and for having your, I believe the ceremony was a few days ago.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about the ceremony. What happened? How did you feel?
The ceremony was wonderful. MashaAllah. I went to University St. George campus, and I was inside the ceremony along with other graduates, and we were waiting to be called. And once I was called, I was on the stage for a little bit, and then I returned back to my seat. But it was a wonderful event.
These things I know with thousands of grads and thousands of families, but did you have anyone with you who were able to witness you there up on the stage?
Yes, my mother and brother was there with me.
So was it very special for them as well to see you graduate?
Yes, mashallah. It was a wonderful time for them to see me as well.
I gather that there's something special for you and your family about your graduation. Do you want to share that with us?
Yes, I am the first Canadian Muslim woman in my family to have graduated in Canada since my parents graduated in Iraq, and the rest of my relatives they either live in Iraq or in Germany.
Are you the only branch of your family then here, mum, dad, and siblings in Canada?
Yes.
So what's that like that you grew up without cousins? Uh, did you feel lonely?
Well, to be honest, I did kind of miss that extended family relationship. Uh, I was able to kind of contact them here and there, like by telephone or by social media. I visited them once in 2006,
Mm.
and it was kind of like, as you said, it is kind of lonely not to have any extended family living with you. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it does get kind of lonely.
So I wasn't necessarily intending to ask you this, and you don't have to share if it's too personal, but what made your parents decide to be the lone family that would come to Canada while others were going to Germany?
It was actually something that just happened all of a sudden. They didn't plan it themselves. It was just something that that kind of basically happened without without any plan or anything.
Mm, mm. Well, congratulations on being the first woman in your family to graduate from a Canadian university. That's a wonderful milestone. So now we have the dreaded question of what's next. Is it something that keeps you up at night?
Well, it kind of does. It kind of bothers me a little bit to not be able to find a job.
Hmm. And do you think that the COVID situation has made things especially difficult, or it's just normally difficult? What's your sense talking to your friends and family about things?
I do think COVID did actually affect the whole job hunting, because for students that graduated prior to COVID, I felt it was easier for them to have connections by attending meetings, um, talking face to face,
Mm,
going there in person to their
mm,
workplace. But since COVID came, it became harder for people to kind of go out and actually be in person.
mhm.
So I felt COVID did actually affect the job hunting by not having that face to face interaction and being physically in the workplace itself.
Mhm. I probably should have asked you this earlier, but what was the major, and so what kind of area are you job hunting in?
At first, I was, job hunting for law clerk,
Mm,
but now I'm kind of considering maybe going into writing some
mhm,
more,
mhm,
because with law clerk, it it was kind of hard for me to actually find a job because they expect you to have certain number of experience, and they're a bit hesitant to hire newly law clerks, because and I understand from their point of view, because it is kind of hard to kind of teach someone when the workplace itself, as I can imagine, as a law firm, is very fast paced.
mm,
So I do kind of see why it might be hard.
mm.
So I'm kind of thinking more into writing.
I see. Well, that's not gonna pay much unless you write the next bestseller, so maybe we should, help you focus on the law clerk idea. Do you have
Yeah,
any experience to share from you or your friends? Like, is being in a headscarf, do you think, an added difficulty, or is it something that you haven't really felt has been relevant?
for me, I don't think it really has been relevant because, like as I mentioned earlier, due to COVID, it's kind of hard to have that face-to-face interaction.
Hmm.
So I don't really think hijab is, really relevant. And
Hmm.
I do know some like Muslim sisters that I know that they wear hijab and they're able to find jobs.
Hmm. So for you, what do you think is the thing that really helps the most?
For me, what helped me the most was, I would say, connections, because if a person doesn't know you and you just show up, or there's not really that relationship, or that kind of acquaintance to actually know who that person is. So it
Hmm.
might be harder for them to let you get hired, unless if you actually knew the other person, then it makes it easier for them to know you
Hmm.
and easier for you to be hired from them.
Do you think that immigrant families like yourself who come and they're like the lone family and they don't have a big network, do you think that's a relevant feature that affects yourself and also other children of immigrants?
I think it does, because like when you're from that lone family, you kind of have to rely on yourself and not really depend on others, and at times it could be hard.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would say that it is kind of difficult to sort of navigate towards that.
Hmm. Well, it's probably not fair of us to be asking you these kinds of questions. You've just graduated a few days ago, the ceremony, and you've been looking for a while. Let's try to end maybe on an optimistic note. If someone's watching, like, do you have any tips that you want to share or any advices?
My advice is to build connections. Don't hesitate to, get to know someone, or get to know a workplace. It's always best first to volunteer, because volunteering, it sort of helps you get in the door. And
Mm.
once you get in the door, you probably might have a higher chance of being hired than
Mhm.
if if you didn't volunteer in the first place. So
Mhm.
if you do have that kind of difficulty of finding connections, I would say first to start looking to volunteer, and hopefully that will
Mhm.
help you get a job.
Because volunteering can also build experience and networking, the two things that you've mentioned already.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Mhm. Well, we're out of time. We thank you very much for coming on and sharing with us your story, and we wish you well, and we hope that things turn out well for you very soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. If you like what we do, please share, like, and subscribe. Stay safe, and God bless.